Welcome to another edition of In the Weeds with Ikard and Lehman, presented by Riverwind Casino. Riverwind is Oklahoma City's premier casino experience, and there are so many reasons why Riverwind is consistently voted OKC's #1 casino, but it all starts with their amazing variety of gaming thrills and excitement. Riverwind's beautiful, award-winning environment plays host to more than 2,800 of the latest electronic games with a huge selection of table games, including blackjack match roulette, and Teddy's favorite, craps. No matter what your game, Riverwind has it in spades and hearts. And to learn more about their gaming promotions and entertainment options, all you got to do is visit riverwind.com. Riverwind Casino, good times, great rewards, and it is our pleasure to be joined by the New Orleans Pelicans color analyst. He is a host for SiriusXM Radio. Your guys' show is awesome, AD. You're also just one of my favorite people in NBA media. Antonio Daniels is back, baby. What's up, man?
What's up, Gabe? How you doing, my brother?
The Thunder in the finals, man. I'm doing really, really well.
Man, I can imagine. I know Oklahoma City right now is going crazy. I can't imagine.
Correct.
We're 2 games in.
Mm-hmm.
What's your impressions? I mean, 2 kind of different games, the way they played out. What do you think so far?
My thought hasn't changed. I picked OKC up front in 5. I picked them in 5, and my thought hasn't changed. You know, I know a lot of people's thoughts changed after game 1. I go all the way back to 2001. If you remember when the Philadelphia 76ers and Allen Iverson played the Los Angeles Lakers, and they went into the Staples Center at the time and they stole game 1. And it was like, oh my gosh, you know what? Now everything's different. And then the better team, which was the Los Angeles Lakers at that time, settled in and won 4 straight games. I picked the Thunder in 5, and I'm staying with that pick because I'm not saying that Indiana's not capable. This is a team that is a very good team, very good home team. I get all that. I just believe in what the Thunder have done all year long in comparison to what Indiana's done all year long. So my thought hasn't changed. My thought is still the Thunder in 5. So basically what I'm saying is Indiana got that 1 win out the way, and I'm predicting now the Thunder will win the next 3 games.
Well, I'm a big fan of that, AD. I like hearing that. Now, after, game 2 last night, were there anything that really stood out to you from an adjustment standpoint that you saw from the Thunder? Did they do anything differently that you really noticed?
You know what's wild? Like when you look at game 1, after game 1, all the talk centered around Tyrese Haliburton. All the talk was about Tyrese Haliburton. But the thing is, if you look at game 1, he didn't play well. He hit a shot, but he didn't play well. And there's a drastic difference in the 2. He was clutch when it mattered, but throughout the course of the game, they did a very good job keeping him under wraps. And here's the thing, fellas. There are certain things that are sustainable. And that's how I looked at game 1, right? Is what the Oklahoma City Thunder did, is it sustainable for the remainder of the series? Yes, it is. You know why? Because this is the best defensive team in the league for a reason. Tyrese Haliburton has totaled 29 points in 2 games. That's 14.5 points per game. Tyrese Haliburton's a guy who is known for taking care of the basketball. He has 8 turnovers in 2 games. That's 4 turnovers per game. That's not like him. But the thing is, what the Thunder do is sustainable. They literally can put 5 guys on the floor that are capable of being first or second team all defense. And Cason Wallace, and Alex Caruso, and Chet Holmgren, and Lou Dort, and Shai Gilgeous-Alexander, and then J-Dub. That gives you 6 guys. Their point of attack defense is unmatched in this league. So I feel like what they bring to the table defensively, regardless as to how they're shooting the basketball, is sustainable throughout the course of this series because this is who they've been all year long.
One of the conversations coming out of game 1 is the Thunder got to get more out of Chet. They got to get more out of Jalen Williams. I thought Chet was excellent. Did you see anything different with his approach in game 2 as opposed to game 1?
A lot of times you need guys don't know what they don't know. Like this stage is different. Every round that you advance is different. So the Thunder, they play Memphis first round, right? And it's like, oh, okay. You know what? That's cool. And then they advance and then they play Denver. And you have the ultimate amount of respect for Nikola Jokic for pushing that 7 games, right? That speaks to his greatness. But then now you step to the next round, which is the Minnesota Timberwolves, which is the Western Conference Finals. And here's the thing. If you've never been to the finals before, you don't understand what that stage is like until you've gone there. So there is a stage fright. There is a like, oh my gosh. Like, you know, you remember back in Hoosiers when they go in and they're in there and it's like, look, the court is still the same. It's still 10 feet off the ground. Like, I get it. Sometimes it takes guys a little longer to settle in. And yesterday, it just looked like Chet Holmgren and J-Dub, they just looked more at ease. It was almost like they got the jitters out. They got the jitters out after game 1 and felt more mentally and physically prepared for game 2.
You are the perfect guy to ask this question because throughout your playing career, you were a heavy minute starter. And then at points in time, you were a role guy coming off the bench. How difficult is it to do what Aaron Wiggins did in game 2?
I tell you what, I give the ultimate amount of respect to Mark Daigneault. You know why? Because he prepares his guys for this all year. This starts in October, right? This doesn't start in June, right? This doesn't start now. This starts all the way back in October. The thing that has set the Thunder apart, and the reason right now that I believe they're 81-20 is because of their depth, right? That starts at the top. The coach infusing confidence in everybody throughout the course of the season. It's not like Aaron Wiggins didn't play all year long and now he was just called upon. He was one of the most improved players this year and helped the Thunder get to 68 wins. There was a question this year to speak to the progress of Aaron Wiggins. Would you rather have Aaron Wiggins or Andrew Wiggins? That's saying a lot. That's saying a lot to actually have Aaron Wiggins in the same conversation and category as Andrew Wiggins, because Andrew Wiggins was the number 1 overall pick in the draft. But that speaks to how much Aaron Wiggins has grown. Think about this, Gabe. Think about the fact that in the biggest game of the year for the Thunder, which was game 1, what Mark Daigneault did is he took Isaiah Hartenstein out and he put in Casey Wallace. You want to talk about infusing confidence and showing a player or players that you believe in them? Again, this started all the way back in October, and I'm not surprised that it's playing dividends now.
We're going to Indiana, and I agree about, game 1, it's a new stage. It's the finals. Mm-hmm. There's some difference there. Is that going to kind of start over again now that you're going on the road into a different environment? And what, if anything, will the Pacers present differently after they've seen a couple of games here and they're headed to their own place?
Well, first and foremost, they'll play faster at home. That's a given. Because they'll play faster at home, because they'll play better at home, because role players tend to play better at home. The same way we saw Alex Caruso and Wiggins and those guys step up in Oklahoma City, you'll see other guys play better at home in Indiana, because the crowd's behind them, the energy is there. So first and foremost, they realize to beat this Oklahoma City Thunder team, they have to play faster. That's easier said than done, though. But everything starts with Therese Halliburton. And I love what I pay attention to, attention to detail, doing the little things well, understanding personnel, what they do well, and how to kind of negate what they do. I thought the Thunder did a fantastic job at cutting off Therese Halliburton's right hand in game 2. A fantastic job. Actually, in this entire series, again, he has 29 points in 2 games. That speaks volumes. Do you expect him to play better at home? Yeah. Do you expect Nembhard to play better and Neesmith and those guys to play better? Yes, I do expect that. So I think what they'll do is they'll try and play to their identity. And to me, fellas, this is what this series is all about. It's a team of 2 identities, right? Which identity will be stronger? Is it Oklahoma City's ability to defend at a high level, or is it Indiana's ability to speed up the pace of the game and play faster? Something has to give. If Indiana gets up into the 120, 125, 130 mark, that's great for them, but it's not good for OKC's defense. If you can keep them to 110 and under, that's great for OKC's defense, but not good for Indiana's offense. So I would expect the Pacers to try and increase the pace of play and to speed the game up.
There's been a lot of talk about Oklahoma City's defense and what this group is able to do collectively on that end of the floor, essentially all season long. Right. As a former player, as an analyst, like what really stands out about what they do defensively to you, AD?
Like the crazy thing is the collective picture is they're like, when that ball's on the floor, whether it's a loose ball or the ball's in the post or somebody's penetrated, they're like a pack of hyenas after that basketball. Like, it's not safe anywhere, but it starts with individual ball containment. And again, they do the minute and boring things really well. And that's what stands out about OKC, because it's easier to have a collectively good defense when you can individually guard your man, when you're not playing in constant rotation, right? So when you look at their point of attack defenders, I'll go back to it again. Cason Wallace, excellent on-ball defender. Alex Caruso, excellent on-ball defender. Lou Dort, first team all defense. J-Dub, second team all defense. Shai Gilgeous-Alexander, you can argue whether or not he should have been on one of the all defensive teams. And then you got the rim protection of Isaiah Hartenstein and Chet Holmgren. So they have individual excellent point of attack defenders, which starts everybody's defense off. But collectively, they do a fantastic job at doing the boring things, the minute things extremely well. That's why they are the best defensive team in the league. That's how you get 68 wins in a regular season, right? That's why they're 81-20 right now on the entire season.
Summer is here, and there's no better way to fire up your cookouts than with Didier Ranch's steak burgers made from 100% premium cuts of steak. These burgers are the real deal. Juicy, flavorful, and packed with that rich, beefy taste that you love. Plus, they're shipped right to your door, so you can spend more time doing what you love and less time shopping. Head over to DidierRanch.com now and use code SOONER for a special discount on your first order. Get ready to taste the best burgers you've ever had. Proudly raised 100% in Oklahoma. Didier Ranch, steak in every bite. Forgive this as if this is a dumb question. The pressure defensively by the Thunder, I agree. It's intense. It's brutal, nonstop. They've been at home. My impression is that the officiating has been, they've been letting them play. Does that dynamic change when you go on the road?
You know what? I'll say this, and we've talked about this as on my SiriusXM show with Rob Perez. You know what I would love, fellas? I would love if there was one officiating crew assigned to this series. I'm talking about one.
Get in the flow and kind of feel
no question. Now I know, as a player, I know how the game is going to be officiated. But when you have one crew on Thursday, and then another crew on Sunday, and then another crew on Wednesday, I don't know how the game's going to be officiated. And realistically speaking, the more physical that they're allowed to play, the more beneficial it is for the Oklahoma City Thunder. Because you look at all of their point of attack defenders, they are all excellent physical defenders. That's what makes it so tough. I've heard Tyrese Halliburton talk about it. I've heard Pascal Siakam talk about it. How you have to be stronger with the basketball, right? How you have to match their physicality and match their intensity. And again, a lot of this does depend on the way the game is being officiated. But I will say this, from day one of the playoffs, it's been a completely different game. The officials have kind of put their whistles away and done what fans have asked. That is to allow the players to dictate and determine the outcome. I love the amount of physicality that has existed throughout this playoffs.
Shai is, let's be honest, putting together one of the all-time seasons we've ever seen in this league. I thought in game 2, he did a better job, especially early, like getting other guys involved.
Correct.
Getting them in a rhythm. Just what has stood out to you about the league MVP so far through the finals?
I'll tell you what's wild about Shai Gilgeous-Alexander. The national narrative would take you somewhere where it shouldn't, which is unfair to his talent. Because this is what the conversation should be about. The conversation should be about how daggone good that young man is, how incredible he is in between the four lines. But it always tends to go off to, well, he gets to the line too much, or I don't like his style of play. No. He's smart. It's the game within the game. What I noticed from game one to game two, he was almost intentional at getting everybody else involved. Because what started our conversation, fellas, was the fact that J-Dub needed to be better and Chet Holmgren needed to be better. We aren't the only one that understood that. He understands that as well. When you're the guy who has that responsibility on his shoulders, you know it's also on you to get other guys involved and to make sure that they're ready to go and comfortable. Because if they're good, we're good. And it was almost like he went out with the intention of, you know what, I got to get everybody else involved because I know I'm going to have the ball in my hands. I'm going to have the opportunity to find my own. So I thought the balance of facilitating and scoring was better in game two than it was in game one, although he scored more in game one than he did in game two. I felt his overall impact and presence more in game two.
You know, back to your point about role players playing better at home. We all know that Chet and J-Dub struggled in game one, better in game two. What do you expect from those guys on the road in game three?
I don't. For me, it's not really about Chet and J-Dub. Like those guys, when you're a part of a quote unquote big three, I don't think that you are a role player. You know what I mean? When I think of role players, I'm thinking of Wiggins and Wallace, Caruso and Hartenstein. You know, some of the other guys that are coming off that bench where you need it. The bench scored 48 points in game two to 28 points in game one. There's a drastic difference in the two. One of the benefits and one of the blessings that Mark Daigneault has at his disposal is depth. It's depth. You can go 8, 9 deep because when you're playing against the Indiana Pacers, it becomes a war of attrition. It becomes okay, this is a foot race. Who can last the longest, right? So you need those guys to come off the bench and give you valuable minutes. And thus far, they've done a pretty good job of that. But when you look at the landscape of the entire season, outside of having the MVP, outside of J-Dub getting third team All-NBA, it's been their defense and their depth that has set them apart from the rest of the NBA.
You played in the finals. You won an NBA championship. What are the days between games like? I gotta imagine they're just brutal, man.
Yes, like you're a creature of habit. So one of the things you're accustomed to doing, if you go all the way back from October through the second week of April, you're used to playing every other day. Time off sometime is great, like if you have to heal something or somewhere. But like after game one, that 48 hours in between takes forever because you're ready to get back on the floor. You know, it took Tyrese Halliburton knocking down a Tyrese Halliburton shot to win game one. You are so ready to get back on that floor. Now, after you complete and win game two, you're ready to get back out there again, right? So you have all today. Think about how miserable it is for us that love the sport of basketball to now have no basketball today and no basketball tomorrow. And now you got to wait until Wednesday evening to actually watch the game. It's worse when you're just sitting around because there's nothing that you can actually do. You are mentally prepared. You are physically prepared. You've watched this film. You know what they're doing. They know what you're doing. You are just ready to see it all play out in between the four lines.
Strategically speaking, are there any other places you feel like the Pacers may go to try and change things up and just kind of change the way things have gone, or are they just going to kind of continue to do what they do?
I think they're going to do what they do because this is what got them there. Yeah. You know, you don't change who you are or change your identity because you lost a game. Realistically speaking, from the Indiana Pacers side, they came, they saw, and they conquered. This is all you want. When you go on the road, you just want to win one. You win two, that's being greedy, which is the mindset, and they came with that mindset. But when you go on the road, your job is to get one of the two. And you know what they did? They got one of the two. Losing game two is not going to change Rick Carlisle's style of coaching. was like, oh, now we got to make some huge adjustment. No, because now you're coming back at home. The energy will be behind you. You're expecting certain players to play better. The energy will be in that building. Now you're just seeing if the Oklahoma City Thunder and that young roster can match that energy and that physicality or surpass it.
Everything good down there in New Orleans, man? Some big changes, a little controversy. You guys all good?
Yeah. We're definitely all good, brother. We're all good.
Good.
You live, you learn, you move on, and we'll see what happens.
Hey, the West is, you just look at what the West is going to be like for the foreseeable future. It's going to be crazy, dude.
That's an understatement. When you look, I thought the West this year was the deepest that I can remember it being, and I don't know how long. Because when you take out the teams that were tanking, you can almost go 1 through 13 where teams realistically came into this year expecting to compete. Like, you think of the teams that didn't make the playoffs out of the West. The Pelicans didn't make the playoffs, but they came into this season expecting to. Then they got injury hit, right? The Sacramento Kings, they'll be better moving forward. The San Antonio Spurs were expecting to, and then Victor Wembanyama got hurt, and then De'Aaron Fox got hurt. So when you look at some of these teams in the West and how deep they are, we saw the jump that Portland made with Chauncey Billups, right? When you look at some of these teams and how they are maneuvering now moving forward, it's the West is deep. So you have to be healthy throughout the course of the season, and you have to be focused because there are no nights off anymore. There are no nights off. I will guarantee you the Utah Jazz will not tank this year healthy. Guarantee you they won't. So you'll have 15 teams in the West competing for 8 spots. That's tough.
Yeah. And, I don't know what happens the rest of the finals, but in your mind, what's the next 4 or 5 years in the NBA going to look like?
You know what I would love to see? I would love to see the fans of the NBA start to not just speak, but to act on passing the torch to the next generation, right? Because right now it's still about LeBron, especially after the Olympics. It's still about LeBron and Steph and KD and those guys. I've heard so many people say, oh, you know what? I don't want to watch the finals because LeBron's not in it or because Steph's not in it. And the ratings will go down. We always talk about wanting to do something. I think it's time to start to pass the torch to the next generation of stars. That's Shai Gilgeous-Alexander. That's Therese Halliburton, right? That's Anthony Edwards. That's Jalen Brunson. A lot of these young stars that are coming up, it doesn't mean that you have to forget about LeBron and forget about Steph and forget about KD and forget about Chris Paul. But I think it's also healthy just to recognize that the NBA is in great hands moving forward. And it's okay to start to pass the torch to that next generation.
AD, you're the man. Game 3 prediction. You already said you got the Thunder winning the game?
I do. Okay. I have the Thunder winning the game. Their defense to me is sustainable and it is incredibly strong. Indiana's going to have a tough time playing to their identity.
Well, you and Rob's show is fantastic. I tune in all the time, man. You guys are doing an awesome job. And I really love that you're so confident in the Thunder. I honestly, I feel better after this conversation. You're the man.
Thank you, guys. You guys deserve it. That fan base deserves it.